Welcome to our first episode of KOVSIES Stories Before the Year 3000. The aim of the show is to showcase extraordinary students who go above and beyond their academic requirements to showcase their talents and make a difference. Today we are joined by a mental health activist, Tshepang. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So give us a brief description of yourself.
That's a very awkward question to ask. Give us a brief description of yourself.
Who are you? Who's Tshepang?
Yes, when you ask that question, normally the first thing that I'm going to mention is a social justice activist. I say I'm a social justice activist because I'm one person who's interested with things that are happening around me. That's why there are times where people around me will then say, dude, take a break, focus on yourself. That I can't. Tshepang is that one person who's out there, whose main aim or goals is just to change the world, to make sure that now people don't go through things that he has went, or rather that he enjoyed in his when he was growing up and all other stuff. So normally what I would say when we deal with, when we talk about Tshepang Mahlatsi, we say social justice activist, a change agent. That's how I define myself. Two ways: social justice activist, change agent.
Okay,
yes. So
what does mental health mean to you?
When you talk about mental health and Tshepang Mahlatsi, we are mentioning that now, that one element that people, or rather a person who holds dearly a conversation that people don't want to have in public. What do I mean by this? That now people don't want to be stigmatized. That's why when you talk about mental health, you would say it's a conversation between me and my psychologist. People don't even know, or rather don't know how to approach their parents when it comes to the issues that relates to mental health. So I've dedicated my time to say, more especially to black communities, let us engage on issues that relates to mental health. Let us go out there. We have our peers who are dying in silence. We have our peers who are in their rooms cutting themselves and all those things, but they are afraid to go out. So I'm availing myself together with my team to say, we are out here, we want to talk about this, let us engage. So that's what mental health means to me, going out there telling people about the conversation that they don't want to have in public. Yes.
Okay, so let's take it back to you. In 2016 you were diagnosed with depression at the age of 21.
Yes.
Would you say that was something that was very new to you, or was it something that you've always suffered from?
Okay, at first, it was not diagnosed as a depression. Ever since I got to the University of the Free State, I've been seeing a psychologist. Okay. But now in 2016, because of so many things that were happening, T then diagnosed that now you have depression. That's when I started with medication of taking antidepressants and all that. So now I cannot say that now the events of 2016 just made it to be a depression, but I've had issues that I was dealing with. And also I don't want to use the word issues, and because some people, when you think of issues, they will think of negative things. Do you know that now sometimes when things are going well in your life, that anxiety that says that I'm here, what if I fail, what if something bad happens, it causes you anxiety. Sometimes some people go through the moves because of the things that they went through. For example, in 2016, for all student leaders, when you talk about 2016, we are talking about the year where we were all tested, and unfortunately, so people like me, it got personal. That's when I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which later led to depression. Yes.
So you'd say that anxiety led to that depression?
Yes, the situation escalated it to depression.
Okay, so yes. Due to the depression, you had to drop out of school. And then who took that decision, and how did your family react to it?
It was not an easy decision to make. One, this year, the people I arrived with are graduating. I took a decision that year to say that now I cannot continue with academics. I'm saying this because as a mental health care user, it is always important to have a reality check. It's always important to understand that now sometimes when things are happening around you, they don't necessarily mean that you are a failure, but now taking the decision was to say, focus on your well-being first. Because should I have forced myself now to say that now I want to graduate, knowing the state, or rather with the status that the state I was in at that time, my psychologist advised that now this is not going to happen. Remember, the same year this person was suicidal. Remember, this year the person was now all over the place. I couldn't even focus. You understand? So the decision was taken that now, for your well-being, take a break. Now at home, it was a different situation. That's why I'm saying the black families cannot have conversations around mental health. Will you believe that now, even now, they don't know how to start? Why did you drop out of school? But what they do, they support my call for mental health. They support my call for speaking about mental health. So they didn't really react the way I expected them to do. They just said, as long as you're okay. That's the response that I'll never forget. My mom said, as long as you're okay. Then we moved forward. So that's when we look into that in particular, this now says that now the next person cannot necessarily be having someone who's going to be that supportive. There are students who are saying, I can't even go back home and tell them what I'm going through because they don't understand me. They don't understand the condition that I'm in. So that now for me, it was a blessing, of which I mean, at the end of the day, that's why next chapter came into the picture to say the blessing that I had, the support that I had, let us create it for those who don't have it. Yes.
Okay, so we'll speak of the triggers that triggered the depression.
Yes, yes.
On national television, you had an interview and you spoke about triggers like identity crisis.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what other triggers do people face within the environment, and specifically people shifting from university to high school, from high school to university, and even the university environment itself?
The university environment, I did mention, and I'm saying it again, it's very toxic in a sense that now some people, if you don't have a strong backbone...
And you were very specific in that interview.
Yes,
that toxicity
yes, yeah, the university spaces are very toxic. One, you get here and you are just someone who don't care about fashion, who don't care about anything that's happening around them, but focusing on yourself. You get here and people saying that, no, dude, you're so ghetto, you're so ghetto. Now that issue alone, it makes people feel like I don't belong here. You get into a classroom, someone says, I'm from this college and we speak English like this. You understand? And you're like, I've never even seen a white teacher. Now I'm here with people who have been taught for most of their lives, been taught by white people, or rather a white teacher. When I get here, that transition from Dipumez Lalini to I'm at the university, and here everyone is on that twang, and you now need to find yourself. That's one of the triggers that makes students end up also saying that now I need to go back home. One of the things that we never talk about, of which is the conversation that I'm starting to have now in our identity. People leave home, you are known to be, no, this is my baby girl. But when you get here, baby girl, you identify differently. You leave home that now this is my son, this is going to be in Khalifayam, he's going to take care of the family. And the boy, when they get here, they're like, now, I'm that when I'm home, but when I'm here, I'm myself. So these are the things, because now students are starting to live double lives. In the sense that now our lives are cards. When you're at home, you play this card. When you're at the university, you play this card. And there are days where that gets too much to them, to a point that now they now have the psychological pressures, in the sense that now they end up having your depression, because they can't also say, when you ask them what's causing you depression, a person will say, I don't really know. We know. We all know what is bothering us, but we are just not sure if the people around us are going to welcome whatever that is bothering us. So that's an issue. How do we get us as students, how do we get other people to speak of their triggers? Also, besides academics and everything, let's talk about your finances. Now, we're at the university space. A person was told that now, this is your last year. Should you fail this module, you are out of the faculty. That's an issue some people are having. So now you are under a constant fear that now, what if I fail this module? What if I do this? What if I do this? So there are so many things that are happening around us that once we start having conversations around them, all of us, we're going to be okay.
Okay. Yeah. So would you say that the phase that you went through, or the journey of depression that you went through, birthed the next chapter?
Most definitely. When you talk about the next chapter, we are talking about give yourself a chance. At that time, I said I'm alone. But I realized that now, okay, it was a selfish move, in the sense that now, let me find other people who are like me. Then from there, I know I'll feel some sense of belonging. We spoke about identity, now it pops in. So I use that because now not everyone knew how it feels like to wake up every day taking a pill that should make yourself feel good. No one knew that now there are times where you are just like fighting this battle alone, and there are few people who can only attest or understand what you're going through. Now I said, okay, fine, let's start. It was supposed to be a once-off sessions where we just meet and say, hey, yo, guys, I have this. The concept came from AA. If people who are now in rehabilitation can meet and say, when I was an alcoholic, this is what I used to do, but I've stopped. We can have the same thing around mental health. So now next chapter came about, that's how next chapter came into the picture. So it is a constant reminder to myself and other people that now we, at the end of the day, at some point in our lives, if you make it a mission for you to be okay, we're going to be okay. That's why it was named the next chapter. You don't know when that is going to happen. Of course, our next chapters, I might be on the last page of this chapter that I'm going through. Someone might be, they still need like 2-3 years to complete the chapter, but the story continues. That's why I was talking continues. I said that the story continues. You are saying you're going through depression or you are going through certain things at home, the story will continue. At the end of the the day you're going to see a next chapter. You are in your academics, you've been doing one module that is stopping you from graduating, next chapter. So now it is a reminder to people that now let us at some point, or rather give ourselves that break, that now, you know what, this is happening. How do I now come back and say that now I'm going to take ownership of my life? Because as mental health care users, as controversial as this might sound, we enjoy people coming around telling us, hey, you know, that support, because you have depression, now people are here supporting you. Sometimes we even forget that now, Kanene, this is a phase. We now want to enjoy being in that phase. So now, next chapter says to us, let us move forward. We have conversations around mental health, conversations that the institution is not prepared to have. This whole concept, I was saying to one of my friends earlier that now I'm not doing anything that is extraordinary. I just took a stance that now this is the struggle that I'm picking. Everyone is fighting their own struggle. There are people who are saying that now women emancipation, economic freedom and all that. But I just said to myself, let me join the movement of people who are fighting for balance, for the balance in our society. Let's talk about their psychological well-being. So that's next chapter for you.
So next chapter became a movement. Even the meaning behind it is a movement, right?
In next chapter is a movement, yes.
Yeah, so what are you guys doing to ensure that you reach out to all institutions all over South Africa and even the world, if I may say?
That's the pressure at the moment, because now you understand that now with resources, we have limited resources. And also we want to make sure that now before we leave the University of the Free State, it is well grounded, it's well rooted. But what we do, the first step is that we launched at Kwakwa 2 weeks ago. Kwakwa campus is having a next chapter at Kwakwa campus. So now from there, we are now going to be able to see that now if we can operate from a distance. Now the first step also will then say, let's see if we can jump into CUT. Let's see if we can jump into colleges, because now when you speak of such movements, we are saying the psychological well-being of students at universities. But we need to remember that there are students who are in colleges, that FET colleges, that are also going through the same thing. Remember, so them, they even go to an extent of saying that now we, the university student, we say, I'd rather not go to institution of higher learning if I were to go to FET. No, I've been telling my friends, all my friends are at the university and I'm here at the FET. So there's a stigma that's attached to that, to those individuals and their institutions. So now that's the aim also, is to move into that direction. Yes.
Okay, so in my last question, since next chapter is sort of like a movement, right?
Yes.
What would you give to someone who's watching right now? What advice would you give to someone who's watching, who's in a toxic environment, like you mentioned, who's suffering from depression silently, and someone who's actually seeking help? What would you say to them?
Okay. Give yourself time. One. That's the way to start about it. Look, we all fear failure. We are afraid for some reasons of failing. Some of us, we are even afraid of admitting that now things are not going okay, but we want to force situations, myself included. There are situations that we know exactly that I don't belong here, but now, and even the table is full, people are telling you that you don't belong in this table. We constantly force ourselves to be around people that have shown in more ways than why, that now we don't want you here. So what we do is that now we want validation. Now let's move away from that and say, this person who's seated at home who's like, I'm at the edge of dropping out from the university and I'm not sure because I'm not really coping. Why am I not coping? It's not about the decision the person can take, but the fact that now at home they're depending on me. So one of the things that I want the person who's listening now to remember is that now once you take a decision to stand up for yourself, yes, everyone around you, when you succeed, you're going to take them up. But once you make that determination that now this is me, this is my life, I'm taking ownership. Every time when I go speak, I always remind people that being loyal to the call. When you talk about the call, you understand that now this is my life, I'm in control. When you talk about the call, you're talking about the fact that now I might be academically inclined, but there are certain things that interest me and I want to go to that direction. It is the call. The call will tell you that now, in as much as you're at the academic spaces, you don't limit yourself to the curriculum that is designed for you. When you talk about the call, you are saying you can be an artistic person, and at home they said that they want a doctor in you. constantly find something that speaks to you, even in the process of what you're trying to achieve, the qualification that you are pursuing. I'm doing law, but I'm more interested, and everything around me is on psychology. But one thing that I've realized is that I cannot now be jumping the pots, or what I need to do is make sure that now I finish this because I've started it, and go to chase what I love. Not that I don't love this. What I did was I tried to merge my interest together with my academics. In LLB, you know, when you're final year, you do your LTHE module, where you need to find a topic and research about it. I'm researching rather about mental health and law. That says that now, in the process of me studying, I get to read more about what interests me. So some people can say that now, I don't have that chance of finding something outside what has been designed for me. That's why most people are going to fail. We're going to be a generation of people who are having qualifications, which are, at the end of the day, when we die, they're going straight to be burned instead of having lived. Askakopili, we are suffocating. You are suffocating because now you want to make that, you spoke about toxic spaces, that relationship work. You are suffocating because you want to force yourself to say, I'm an academic, I'm going to say, knowing exactly that now things are not going your way. Instead of asking for help, did you know that now I'm a quad student? So people will be like, now, quads is for disabled students. The moment you start putting negative labels on things that are happening in your life, that's what your life becomes. So my advice will be to people, KOVSIES, do it for yourself. And remember, at the end of the day, everything that you're going through is going to end. All the wins and losses that once seemed so important will fade away. And it will not matter on what side of tracks you walked, but what will matter is if you've lived the life that you've always wanted. It's not about money, it's about enjoying the things that you do. For example, you are passionate about KOVSIES TV. Not that you're getting paid, but it's about passion. So try to find that one area of hope. I'm a fan of yin yang. Every time I remind myself that now, in the dark, find that one area of hope. Yet, when you are in the light, don't be naive, because things are going to go wrong. And that's why we get depressed when things don't go wrong, because we don't prepare. Not to say that now build a mansion of failure, but now a young room that you say, if it happens this side, I jump straight into this. That's how we plan for our lives. I'm not perfect. I wish you could have asked me that question that now, are you perfect? I'm not. I'm far from being perfect. I'm a failure. There are certain things that I plan and I fail on a national level. National level in a sense that now you tell people of your plans and they don't work out. But what I don't do, I always tell my friends that now invest on your PR, invest on your public relations. If you can work with people around you, some people will come with a business idea that this particular firm or rather this particular business or company didn't take my business proposal. The issue is that now we want to jump straight to the big dogs. Sometimes you just need to work with people around you. If I wanted to start next chapter with your SADC and all other big movements, I would have failed. But I started with people who are here, people on the ground. So build your profile on the ground. The very same people on the ground are going to be the ones who are marketing whatever that you do. You do something now, we share it. No company will just go on Twitter and say, we saw a post, let's retweet, until it speaks to them. Find people around you that speaks to your calling, then make sure that now you utilize that. Once your passion, or once you invest on your passion, people get to invite you, and you get being paid for that. Or something that you didn't know. We are working on a company that is going to be launched soon. It's called Tshepang Mahlatsi Pty Ltd. What we do, I said, okay, I can't be speaking all over the country and not getting paid. Now this is where your calling becomes relevant in your finances also. So this was someone asked me, what are you gonna do about that? Because you're already speaking. What I'm doing is that now we build the legacy. Before we fight them for building generational wealth, we need to start now. You don't build a generational wealth when you are turning 40. You build it now, being first with connections that you have. From connections, the people that you've met now are going to be what? They will be in companies. Now you know I have you in a particular company. Then I know that now the cycle keeps on going. We can't claim that now, open up the cycle if you are not willing to be part of the cycle. We can open the cycle. If you're not willing to be part of the cycle, it's useless. So KOVSIES, go out there, chase your dreams, and more importantly, find yourself in that.
Okay,
Yes.
so we see you doing a lot. So we wish you all the best in everything that you do. And thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That was Tshepang Mahlatsi. Catch us next time, our next episode of KOVSIES Stories Before the Year 3000. Please subscribe, like, and share on our page. And we will see you next time.